Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dr. Matt from Pinnacle Chiropractic, your local pediatric and family chiropractor here in the Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch area. And today is episode 8 of our Pinnacle's Perspective, our weekly health cast. And so today's episode, what we really want to talk about and get into is the process of getting started in our office. So we get a lot of people that come to us through various ways. So a lot of people come to us through referrals. Usually those type of people are going to know our process to get started because they referred to us by one of our families that come to us. And then a lot of other ways that we receive new patients from are social media. So maybe patients have seen, or potential patients have seen our videos that we do, or our testimonials that we do on Facebook and Instagram. That's probably the second avenue that we see a lot of new patients come to us. The third avenue is really through workshops, our live in-person workshops. Unfortunately, right now, due to the COVID times, we're not able to host a lot of those workshops. So we haven't done those in a few months. And so those are really the three main avenues that we get a lot of new patients come to us. So especially when it comes to people that found us on the internet or social media or Google, those people usually don't always know what to expect when getting established with our office. And so today's episode 8, we really want to talk about what that process looks like and why each step of that process is so crucial so that we can really deliver the best possible care to our patients that come to us. So it could be a child, somebody looking for their child with ADHD, sensory struggles, or chronic immune challenges, or maybe a baby that has colic and reflux. Those are really kind of the most common cases that we see in children that come into our office, or it could be adults. So we see a lot of family members of the kids that we take care of, and then it could be a prenatal patient as well. So there are a lot of chiropractic offices out there, and there are a lot of chiropractic offices that do things a little bit differently. So that's what we really want to explain, is why we do things the way we do and what that process looks like. So there isn't any confusion on knowing what to expect when it comes to getting established in our office and what that process looks like. So really the first step is finding out more about us. So a lot of the times, a lot of potential patients or parents of potential patients will do their research. So they'll read a lot of our Google reviews. If you go to Google, type in Pinnacle Chiropractic, you can read some of our Google reviews. You go to Facebook, you can read some of our reviews on Facebook. So a lot of potential patients and the parents of our potential patients will read some of those reviews so they can see the proof of the results that we really get. And then a lot of other families, they discover us through that social media outlet. We're very active on Facebook, active on Instagram as well. So hearing some of those testimonials, some of those wins of some of our patients gets parents thinking, okay, maybe this could benefit my child as well. So usually getting to know us somehow through those testimonials and through those reviews on Google and Facebook, it's how a lot of people stumble across us. So what then happens is typically you're going to call the office. So giving our office a call, our phone number is 941-822-8828. You'll usually speak with either Claire or Miss Jen. So Miss Jen is really our new patient specialist on handling those new patient phone calls. And she is a great resource because her daughter, Avely, was a patient of mine before she started to work here. So she can really connect with a lot of moms out there that have children that are having struggles. So usually you'll be speaking with Miss Jen a little bit about the process. So she'll be explaining the process that I'm going to talk about over the phone and finding out more about your particular case or your son or daughter's case so that we can make sure that you're the right fit for our office, because we really have a defined focus in our office. We're not like the traditional neck pain, back pain, car accident, personal injury type chiropractic office. We want to make sure that you're a great fit for our office and that we're going to be able to help first and foremost. And so After we establish that we are going to be able to help you, then it's really just confirming that we're going to be able to help you. So the first step in that process is really a phone consultation. So what we'll do first is we'll set up a phone consultation where we can dive into the current struggles of your son or daughter, or the current struggles with you or your pregnancy, and then find out a little bit more about the case history. So with our care, we are really looking at the brain and the nervous system and the function of the brain and the nervous system. So we want to know, when did this stress start or begin with your son or daughter, or with you, or with your pregnancy, or whatever challenges you are having occur? When did that problem start? And when did, most importantly, that stress on the brain and the nervous system start? So with that phone consultation, we'll be taking a detailed case history to look for common stressors that we see during pregnancy, during the labor delivery process. And then we'll be also looking for early warning signs that there was possibly dysfunction within that nervous system. So things like colic, reflux as a baby, chronic ear, nose, throat things as kind of that infant toddler stage. And then maybe the current struggles of sensory ADHD, focus, attention, sleep struggles like that. That will really give us a great idea when that neurological dysfunction, when that stress really started to overwhelm the brain, started to overwhelm the nervous system. And so that typically applies to like our adult patients as well as our children's patients. When it comes to pregnancy, what we'll be doing during that case history is we'll be really finding out more about what your current challenges are pregnancy-wise. So a lot of people pregnancy-wise come to us when they're in a lot of pain and discomfort. And so we can definitely help with those issues. But the main thing we want to make sure is that your brain and nervous system is healthy, so that baby's brain and nervous system is developing in a healthy way. And so in that case history for pregnancy, we find out about your current challenges and stress levels. But we also find out as well about what your ideal birth is. So we have a lot of pregnant patients that want to have or achieve a more natural delivery. And so chiropractic care is a very, very important piece to deliver naturally. But whatever mom's wishes are for their labor and delivery, we want to be as supportive as possible so that we can help you along through that process. And so that's really the first step, is really finding out more about the case, when that dysfunction within the brain, the nervous system started, so that we start putting the pieces together about how long really it's going to take to correct that underlying dysfunction within the brain, within the nervous system. So, and when it started as well. The earlier it started, the longer it's really going to take to correct and help that dysfunction within that brain and the nervous system. So that first step really gives us that picture of the puzzle. The second step is really using our technology to confirm everything. So we don't want to just guess on our care. We really want to test, and we want to continue to test and evaluate to see the changes that we're making within the brain and the nervous system. So the second step is doing our examination. So when it comes to an adult patient, when it comes to a child patient, what we'll be doing is 3 different scans on the brain and the nervous system. So the technology that we utilize in our office, it's non-invasive. There's no radiation, nothing harmful like that. Basically, the first scan of the brain and nervous system, it rolls up the back. It's like a giant thermometer, and what it's reading is heat, essentially, or inflammation. So it really gives us an idea where the inflammation is along the spine. And it tells us where those problem areas are at as well. So this really gives us an idea how much inflammation within their whole spine and spinal cord and nervous system there is, and where we have to really start our adjustments, start our care. It gives us a great idea of where we have to start to unlocking a lot of that stress within that nervous system. The second scan that we do really measures the overall neuromuscular tension. So not necessarily how tight the muscles are, but it really measures the overall tension and tone of that neurological input to that musculature along the spine. We know the more tense and the more tension there is there, the more in that stress mode, the more in that fight or flight mode the child or adult is. So that gives us a good idea kind of that picture of the puzzle. And then the third test that we utilize is called heart rate variability. So this will really tell us how much of an effect that stress has had on the nervous system. It will tell us if that child or that adult's brain and nervous system is in more of that fight or flight mode or the sympathetic mode of our nervous system, or if they've got good balance between that sympathetic gas pedal fight or flight mode and that parasympathetic rest relaxation mode. So we want good balance between those two modes. We don't want you to be in one of those modes more so than the other. So that last test will give us that picture of the puzzle. So after we do that evaluation, we'll do those scans as well during pregnancy. Like I said, it's totally non-invasive. There's no radiation, nothing harmful at all for mom or baby when we do those scans. And then for the pregnancy patient, we'll do a thorough evaluation as well and work up an adjustment, because we want to see biomechanically, or basically how the hips and pelvis are aligned and moving, to see if it's going to be more of a complex case. That workup will tell us, okay, there's a lot of things that are working against us to stabilize that hips and pelvis, preparing for that labor and delivery process. So that physical examination on the pregnancy patient will give us that piece of the puzzle. So after we do that examination of the nervous system, and then on the pregnancy patients, a little bit of examination of that structure, we'll have a good idea of pairing that with that case history that we took in that phone consultation of what it's really going to require to get that brain and the nervous system working the way it's supposed to. So a lot of other chiropractic offices, they're great. They might be able to help some kids and adults and stuff like that. But what I always say is they're more like pain management. They're more of symptom management type of care. It's like Band-Aid care, essentially. So a lot of the times they'll basically say, come in when it hurts or come in when you're having an issue, but they're not really looking at the bigger picture of getting to the root cause of the issue. And we really pride ourselves on getting great results in our office. We want to be a long-term solution, not just a quick fix, essentially, because what we know is when that brain and that nervous system is in that stressed out mode, those symptoms can start to go away relatively early. But if that neurological dysfunction is still present, as soon as you stop, those symptoms are going to come back right away, essentially, and things are just going to keep on resurfacing. You might have more health challenges show up if you're still in that neurologically stressed state or neurologically stressed mode. And so what does that look like? So basically, our third part of that process is our report of findings visit. So this is basically where we will sit you down and go over all the findings from the examination, the scans that we did in detail. So we'll be able to, like I said, measure that stress on the nervous system, that inflammation on that nervous system, and see what it's going to take. So then we'll go over our recommendations for care. So a lot of children that we take care of, especially with sensory challenges, with ADHD, that neurological dysfunction started right at birth, whether within the pregnancy when they were developing or right at birth because of some sort of big stressor like a birth intervention. And so with those kids that have the sensory ADHD-like challenges, it's usually going to take some time and repetition to rewire that brain and nervous system and get things where we want it to be. So a lot of those kids are coming in multiple times a week, 3 times a week, for a few months of care before we really get their nervous system in a more stable spot. And that goes for chronic immune challenges as well. What I always tell people, the longer those problems have been there, the longer that dysfunction has been there, the longer it's going to take and the more work that is required to really get that changed in a much more healthy way. And so that also goes with the older the child is. So the older the child is, the longer it can take as well for things to change. Typically, the younger the child, the quicker we're going to be able to see changes, because once again, that problem hasn't been there as long. So for somebody that has mild issues that, maybe has things that pop up here and there, but nothing like super chronic or long lasting that's been going on for years and years, then typically we're going to start them a lot less frequently. They might start at once a week, essentially, what we call our once a week wellness plan. But those more chronic cases, they are going to require more intensive care in the beginning to get the results that we're really looking for and to make a long-term change within their brain and the nervous system. So after we go over those findings from the examination, after we go over our recommendations for care at that report of findings visit, we will then go over what to expect with our care as well. So we don't want there to be any surprises along the way, essentially. So we've kind of, because of all of our experience of seeing all different types of cases within children and adults and pregnancy, we pretty much know what to expect along the way. There aren't too many surprises for us anymore doing this work for about 5-6 years now. So we put together a what to expect sheet where we go over in detail of what you can expect, especially early on with care. So what we always stress, healing takes time. It's a little bit different for every single person. Everybody's been under different types of stressors within their life when their brain nervous system is developing. So we don't know exactly how each case is going to respond and how quickly they're going to respond to care. So we always say, it's going to be a little bit different for every single patient. And then what we're really looking for in the beginning is any type of change. Some symptoms might get better initially. Some might get a little bit worse. It might be like this roller coaster effect where you see some things get better, some things get worse, or a combination of those things. And so what we really chalk that up to and what we explain in that what to expect portion is there might be some detoxing that your brain, your nervous system, or your child's brain and nervous system has to go through, especially those more intensive chronic cases. We'll see a lot of them have to go through some detox period where their symptoms, some of those symptoms might get a little bit worse. As we're unwinding a lot of that stress and tension within their brain, within their nervous system, within their spine, a lot of that stress and tension has got to come out. A lot of the times when we take on stress and our body doesn't process it well, it gets stored in our body. That's why we get so tense. Our shoulders hike up. We feel that stress and tension in the shoulders and neck area, especially in a lot of female adult patients that we take care of or moms that we take care of. So when we begin unwinding that, it's got to come out. So a lot of the times we'll see bigger emotions happen during that time, crying, more anger, things like that through that detox period. But those are all normal signs of healing. That means that we're releasing a lot of that tension, which is a good sign. And so we go over that what to expect, like I said, so that there are really no surprises along the way. We want you to know that these are normal things with the healing process and that they can occur. And so after that what to expect portion, we'll go over some of our dietary recommendations as well. We're not going to put together a big detailed plan dietary wise, but we are going to go over some foods that we really want you to limit and cut out as much as you can out of your diet, because once again, our gut is our second brain. And if we're eating foods that are causing inflammation within that gut, it's going to also lead to inflammation within the brain as well, affecting that brain and nervous system function. So after that dietary recommendations, we go over that portion. Then typically what's going to happen is Jen will come in and she'll go over the financial portion. We'll go over basically how much it's going to cost, what our different options for paying are, and how you can take care of that. And so at that report of findings visit, we really don't want there to be any questions left unanswered. We want to answer any of your questions, any of your reservations, any of your fears. We want you to basically have as much information as you can so you can make an educated decision on your health or your child's health, and what it's really going to take and what it's going to cost to get them to where we want them to be. And like I said, we really pride ourselves on our results. We get amazing results. We get to hear miracle cases, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of our testimonials, and you might be thinking, man, these sound too good to be true. How are they getting such great results? And when I always talk to parents, when I tell people why we get such good results, it's not necessarily because we're utilizing the latest, greatest techniques, which we do utilize, but the biggest and most important portion that gets us those results is because we put together that plan. It's because we listen first. We hear what issues are going on and when they really started. We then test to see how much dysfunction there is. And then we put together that detailed plan. That detailed plan is what truly gets us the results on a regular, consistent basis with a lot of the patients that we take care of. And so as we go through care, then we're going to continue to evaluate them about every 4 weeks, especially in those intensive periods when we're coming in multiple times a week. We want to see about once a month what's going on, what changes are we making. So we'll be doing reevaluations and rescans. We'll be setting goals that we can monitor their progress to see if we have to make any tweaks, any changes, if we have to refer out for any particular reason. We want to make sure that we help everything go the way that is planned and get you pointed to better function for you and your child. So that's really what our process looks like of becoming a patient and how to get started and why we do those things. And like I said, it's really results driven. We want to get the best possible results that we can. If you go into something without a plan and you just leave it up to the patient or just leave it up to coming whenever you want, typically you're not going to get the results that you want or your child needs or deserves. And so that plan portion is what really is going to make the world of a difference in your health and your child's health as well. And it's going to be a long-term change that we can see as well with that. And so typically after that intensive portion of care, if your child has to go through that, or if you have to go through that intensive portion, after we get things working the way that we want them to work, we really move into more of that wellness maintenance phase of care, where we just want to keep things working that way because we're constantly bombarded by stress in our lives, especially right now in this world. We have more stress than ever bombarded with us, especially with the COVID crisis and everything going on in our world. There's more and more stress coming at us. So we want to make sure that we can keep that nervous system, that brain working the way it's supposed to and not getting overwhelmed by stress by that maintenance process. So most of those cases within our maintenance and wellness program are going to be coming once a week, twice a month. Usually we don't like to go down to once a month, but in some cases, if they're really stabilized and they're doing really well, we will say once a month is okay. And so once we're in that maintenance phase, then we're just keeping an eye on everything because, like I said, we're bombarded by different stressors within our life. As parents, we might not think something's stressing out our kids, but they could be perceiving their world in a totally different way of how we're perceiving it, and that stress could start to overwhelm them. So if they start to be a little bit overwhelmed by that stress, we want to get them in and rescan them, reevaluate them, and up their frequency of adjustments if it's needed. And so also we're going to look and see if any other things are needed as well to make any changes to that. So I hope that gives you a really good idea, kind of our process as we go along through that process and you become a new patient in our office. We'll go over that in a lot more detail than this video did, but that essentially explains our process and why we do what we do and how it allows us to get the best possible results for our patients. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and this is something that we can come back to for any potential new patient because it really leaves all the questions on, basically leaves any kind of thoughts or questions, it answers them essentially. So there's no kind of hidden surprises along the way. We really want to be as transparent as possible with our office and let you know every step of the way and why we do what we do essentially. So hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you have a son or daughter, and maybe you've been following our page, or for you as an adult or a pregnancy patient, you've been following our page, just give our office a call, 941-822-8828. We'll be able to walk you through how that process looks as well, and we can set you up for those appointments. Or if you're watching this, you know a friend that has a son or daughter, or a friend that's pregnant, or a friend that's an adult that needs our care, that this really sounds like something we could help them with, go ahead and tag them in the comment section below to watch this video, because it will really kind of help them see what we do, why we do what we do, and why that process is the way that it is. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, guys, I'm Dr. Matt from Pinnacle Chiropractic, and be well.